Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Profiles in Excellence from Homeland Security Today. My name is Christina Tanastruk. I'm Executive Editor of HS Today and also the CEO of the Government Technology and Services Coalition, who owns HS Today. We're very excited to continue with our Profiles in Excellence series. As many of you know, each year, people from across the nation are nominated for their work in Homeland Security, and we celebrate those people in December. This December, we had the honor of awarding Benjamin Podsiadlo, a fellow Polish, I'm Ukrainian, so a brother in Poland, with one of our mission awards. And he is an emergency services leader with over 30 years of experience as an urban 911 paramedic, EMS, Chief and Emergency Management Director in some of the busiest emergency response systems in the United States. So we're really happy to welcome you today, Ben.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and honored the award on behalf of certainly myself, but and my excellent team here at the Massachusetts Office of Grants and Research, Executive Office of Public Safety and Security.
Yes, it is great to have you. So now that you've kind of gotten that huge title out of the way, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, my background is primarily as you said, emergency medical services paramedic, advanced life support paramedic, and chief for a variety of generally high volume urban regional paramedic systems, and also that extending into kind of long-term extensive work around that with emergency management and homeland security, anti-terrorism preparedness and work as well. So that's a bulk of it. I've also done in the past done some work as a state legislative aide, so that was interesting, and now very privileged to work with my team here on Homeland Security grants in Massachusetts, administering and overseeing the federal Homeland Security grants for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as well as state Homeland Security grants, and working closely with our partner state agencies and Homeland Security regions and our local agencies and nonprofit groups in ensuring the Homeland Security posture of the Commonwealth and its people.
Yes, you all win an award now 2 years in a row, so you are doing something right. And I know your project that was nominated, it had a lot to do with COVID and your COVID preparations and how you persevered throughout that. Can you tell us a little more about kind of the things that happened during COVID and how you overcame them, and certainly advice for others?
Sure. I mean, I think we've all been through it, and it certainly continues as a major public health issue for the nation and for the Commonwealth. In my roles, in my emergency medical services role before I was here, we worked very diligently to kind of bridge the connections between public safety and public health and the healthcare system and the community in preparing for COVID, particularly when we, it had started, but we saw that it was, that the wave of COVID incidences was going to impact our state, as well as, responding to the medical challenges, but also really the logistical communications and complex challenges of coordinating response and recovery efforts across many different disciplines and sustaining them. In one of the particular focuses that in the emergency services community we wanted to work on was sustaining our first responder workforce from a force protection standpoint with robust testing model and a robust vaccination model to protect our first responders. And I was very fortunate to be involved with that, with an excellent team from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, as well as the emergency medical services community that partnered together to ensure that we logistically supplied our first responders with, PPE, personal protective equipment. We developed a testing program for first responders, as well as for persons in the prison system to test them, and then that rolled into ultimately a vaccination program for our state first responder workforce, our state police, our Department of Corrections, corrections officers, as well as a broader a group of public safety professionals from fire services, state 911, et cetera.
Excellent. That was a challenge for many. And
Yes.
you apparently suffered a major supply chain disruption to transitioning to a virtual environment. So what happened there, and what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the supply chain issues were very challenging for everyone, right? Because of the loss of, with workforce losses, and being able to operate remotely isn't an option for first responders themselves, but then relying more and more on support mechanisms that were trying to make that work, and be effective. So we had to be creative, and we're very fortunate here in Massachusetts that our secretary, our undersecretary, our governor at the time, and our public safety team, leadership team, was able to work closely with our private partners in a whole community approach to access PPE, and work closely with our public health and healthcare entities to be effective in resourcing our frontline healthcare workers as well as our first responders in meeting those challenges and gaps, so that patients could be cared for and our workforces could be best protected to avoid illness and be able to have an effective response capability.
So now that COVID is kind of now added to our all hazards wheel, I was going to say now that we're emerging from COVID, but really COVID hasn't gone away. It's just now a kind of a permanent fixture for us to have to cope with in addition to everything else. What is your office focused on coming out of this?
Well, kind of emerging from the post restrictions into the post restrictions environment from the previous more restrictive public health measures environment, we've really tried to continue to ensure the protection of our workforce and the public, of course, in our response capability, but also really trying to accelerate our preparedness for the emerging and evolving threats that the Homeland Security landscape is presenting, to the Commonwealth, to the nation. We're very attuned to our guidance from from the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, certainly our partners at CISA with the new state and local cybersecurity grant program rolling out, and looking to ensure that our state Homeland Security strategy that's guided by our secretary, Terrence Reedy, and through him to our undersecretary of Homeland Security, Jean Benincasa Thorpe, who's our governor's Homeland Security advisor, to Governor Maura Healey, that we're ensuring that we're accelerating our in-person, following all continuing public health guidance, but our in-person training and exercise regimen, that we're evaluating, testing, and building up our preparedness for the threats that are out there, particularly with the focus on kind of the current climate. For example, Massachusetts, through our secretaries, worked very hard to ensure broad consensus from our state and local first responder public safety partners across agencies and disciplines, compliance with the NFPA 3000 active shooter hostile event response standard, with an eye towards ensuring unified command, that we're developing our rescue task force model, and that our law enforcement is well resourced with training and equipment to ensure their preparedness to neutralize those sorts of instances, while also really emphasizing the importance of prevention and protection from those incidences occurring. So that's been a real focus for us in the post restrictions environment, where we really want to accelerate our awareness, preparedness, and capacity and capabilities around that. as well as continuing to reach out across, kind of silos and secretariats to ensure that we're working closely with our health sector partners in EMS, hospitals, mental health, family assistance to resource those capabilities for mass casualty, for example.
Yes, that's exactly who received. Jean Benincasa Ross is the one who we honored
Thorpe.
2 years ago now. Yes, Thorpe. Yes. It was great to know her.
She's our Homeland Security, senior leadership official who really sets the tone for how we're integrated in our approach towards all of these threats.
Yes, no, she's terrific. And we got an opportunity to speak with her 2 years ago, I think now. So she's
wonderful.
Very supportive and a wonderful advocate for all of you, and certainly for the citizens of Massachusetts. So I heard you speak a lot about getting prepared for some of the threats. I know that you've been focusing on the soft targets, crowded places, and combating domestic violent extremism. What do you think the most important piece of that has been for your first responders and others preparing for those events?
Well, I think, as we just discussed, I think is accelerating and encouraging the importance of in the post-restriction environment of really engaging with training and exercises to build up our capabilities and rebuild them. There's been a lot of great work done over the years towards preparedness for these hazards. But during COVID, we couldn't do some of it or do it to the extent we would normally like to. And that's key. And I would say the common thread from a strategic standpoint that we try and drive at the state level in support of our frontline, local responders is the absolute criticality of the capabilities that the Department of Homeland Security and that our Secretary at the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security wants to support is operational coordination and interoperability. That our first responders, regardless of agency or type, whether it's a state, local, or other regional or other type of response entity or support entity, that they're fully integrated and able to coordinate, communicate, and cooperate in a highly effective and ever-evolving and improving manner, and that we're always looking at that, how we can improve our plans, how can we improve our relationships, and how can we improve our ability to effectively respond to the needs of the people of the Commonwealth, particularly in crisis.
Well, it seems like you're doing an amazing job at that. So as a mission award winner for Homeland Security today, what would your advice for other departments be? And perhaps even more importantly, for smaller departments, people that don't have as many resources, what would you say is a focus area for them?
Well, I think in the Homeland enterprise, we're often looking towards how do we prepare ourselves for large scale, catastrophic, and or complex threats and risks that emerge from terrorism or extremist activity, as well as other types of events that may be man-made or may be natural occurring. And in that, when we're looking at the local level, that's where response happens, right? It's our taking care of our neighbors and our communities, and that's what our job is at the state, is to support, assist, advise, resource our frontline communities who do the work and have the local jurisdictional authority to do that. But in that, there is a strong emphasis on regionalization in the grants and in their guidance, as well as in the Commonwealth's goal towards improving efficiency and enhancing cooperation. Recently, the Commonwealth is engaged in a compact approach towards helping communities do that while maintaining their local jurisdictional autonomy and authority, being able to find ways to collaborate for best efficiency and best quality. And we can certainly see that in the Homeland Security enterprises, how local communities can share resources, collaborate, cooperate, ensure that unified command model that's so important to emergency response and homeland security, the NIMS ICS model that drives getting the disciplines together in one place and having the right people directly face-to-face collaborate to ensure best response and recovery. And also that we're always looking to improve, right? That's always the directive, is that as we have real world incidents or exercises or other opportunities to assess our plans and posture and our best practices and lessons learned, how are we seeking to continue to address and improve our ability to take care of the public? And in doing that, the local level, that's where we find our best resources, our best people, and also how can we share them in a way that makes sense and collaborate. And that's been done very successfully in Massachusetts. I point to the success of, for example, the state HazMat program that draws on our local first responders, particularly from the fire discipline, to respond from their local departments, come together as a regional team as part of a statewide state HazMat response enterprise, and effectively mitigate, serious HazMat and CBRNE incidents, as well as partnering now with our very successful what's called the JHIRT program, the Joint Hazard Incident Response Team program. That's a collaborative, formalized partnership between our state Department of Fire Services HazMat team and our local firefighter HazMat techs that are part of it, and our Massachusetts State Police bomb squad, our explosive ordnance disposal experts, to go together as one team and address CBRNE incidents that have a HazMat component, as well as a potential or actual energetic explosive component. And that's been a wonderful model. We're really grateful to FEMA for recognizing it and looking at it as a potential best practice to be shared. So it's something we're very proud of, how our local first responders with their excellence and expertise can come together and then develop a regional approach across perhaps smaller, medium-sized, or even larger communities to address a larger need.
Excellent. So you're not just talking about these things, you're actually doing them. So you're advising and actually in practice. That's amazing. Really good certainly for Massachusetts, and a great example for others. So tell me, what is your advice for citizens who want to be helpful and not a hindrance in emergencies, or how individually they can prepare? So, there are a lot of people that go to a football game, those soft targets, those types of things. What can people be doing or sharing with their families to make sure they're as secure as possible?
Absolutely. I think there's a variety of things. Is that, there's the See Something, Say Something campaign that is really important, that if people do observe activity that's, alarmingly suspicious for violence or a threat hazard, to make sure that that's communicated to public safety, to law enforcement, so that it can be investigated and determined what that is, and making that happen. So that's the first thing, is just strong public information sharing with the public safety, homeland security enterprise, and that people should feel comfortable doing that. And then I think the public, more and more, we've seen it with recent incidents in the country, such as the cardiac arrest situation at the football game recently, and improved awareness of ability to stop the bleed, that these are things people can do and learn very quickly, a lot of it even virtually, to be of assistance to their family, friends, neighbors, in emergency situations. The other thing I point to is that our Department of Homeland Security partners have really done a good job of re-emphasizing, refocusing the grants on community resilience and a whole community approach. And this is something that we're grateful for, from Secretary Mayorkas and Administrator Criswell, is that honing in on developing, for example, CERT teams and re-emphasizing the importance of our neighbors being able to come together and help each other when we have a serious crisis that may absorb a lot of professional or dedicated first responders, that people are prepared and feel comfortable standing up and helping each other out. And I think there's a lot of interest and focus on that now. I know here in Massachusetts, it's a strong initiative across Massachusetts State Police with the See Something, Say Something, our State Emergency Management Agency, MEMA, and our director, Don Brantley, is heavily engaged with that enterprise and bringing that to our local communities and ensuring that our local emergency managers and first responders can benefit from that grassroots support in a major crisis.
Excellent. It's always important to have everyone on the same page. And that famous emergency management saying that you don't want to be exchanging business cards at the scene. So I see you are connecting people and making sure people know who to call and certainly what to do in those precious minutes when some emergency happens. So thank you for that. I really appreciate your time today. So I'd like to wrap us up by asking you, do you have any last words of wisdom for the people out there watching?
I'm really grateful to be involved in this enterprise. I'm really grateful for all of the guidance and information sharing from my colleagues here in the Commonwealth and certainly across the country. I've learned so much in short order. It's such an expansive discipline and eclectic. But I'd specifically like to thank my colleagues here at the Office of Grants and Research, our executive director, Kevin Stanton's a fantastic leader here who's really provides a vast depth of knowledge and oversight, and my colleague and partner in managing the Homeland Security team, Sonia Shai, and her vast subject matter expertise in the Homeland grants, and our entire team here. I'm certainly most grateful for the award, but it really reflects on our team and not on me individually. And that includes Patricia McGurk, our senior program coordinator who oversees at OGR our UASI and some of our regions, as well as Vicky Mboka Boyer, working heavily on our nonprofit grants as well as Homeland activities and that grant stream and other state grants. And then Kayla Toner, our program coordinator, who's overseeing our Southeast and very involved across our suite of grants. So we have a wonderful team here, and I'm really, grateful to them for everything they do. They are the people that this recognition really goes to and deserve it. So thank you so much. I'm humbled by it and most grateful for the kind interview. It was really fun talking to you.
Of course. Well, we're just happy to let other people know about your great work, hear a little bit more from some of the best in the country. So we appreciate you joining us, and certainly we look forward to seeing who wins from Massachusetts next year. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you.
Of course. Have a good day.
You too.